What if I told you that the stranger you helped today could be the person destiny has been preparing for you your entire life? What if that random act of kindness in the pouring rain was actually the universe finally bringing two souls together? After years of near misses, and Almastis is Sarah Thompson, and she has no idea that in exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds, her entire world is about to change forever. It's Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, and Sarah is running late for her job interview at Morrison, marketing the biggest advertising firm in downtown Chicago. The rain is coming down so hard that the weather app on her phone shows a literal flood warning. She forgot her umbrella again, just like she has every single Tuesday for the past 2 years. But what Sarah doesn't know is that, across the street, standing under the awning of Kelly's coffee shop, is someone who has been unconsciously looking for her since he was 7 years old. Meet David Chen, a 28-year-old architect who moved to Chicago 6 months ago from San Francisco. David has walked past this exact corner every single day since he arrived, always at 8:37 a.m., always carrying his father's old black umbrella, the one his dad gave him before he passed away, with the words, "Find someone worth sharing it with," for the past 6 months. David has watched hundreds of people hurry past in the rain. He has seen businessmen in expensive suits get soaked. He has watched mothers struggle with strollers and groceries. He has observed elderly couples sharing umbrellas and young lovers laughing as they get drenched together. But something always held him back from offering help. Till today, something feels different. Today, David woke up with a strange feeling in his chest, like anticipation mixed with certainty. He grabbed his father's umbrella and whispered the same words he says every morning, "Dad, I hope today is the day." Sarah is now standing at the crosswalk, frantically checking her phone. Her interview is in 20 minutes, and she's still 15 blocks away. Her resume is getting soggy in her leather portfolio, and her carefully styled hair is beginning to frizz in the humidity. She looks up at the sky and lets out a frustrated sigh that David hears from 50 feet away. This is the moment. This is why David moved to Chicago, even though he had a perfect job in San Francisco. This is why he broke up with his girlfriend of 3 years, because something deep inside told him he was meant to be somewhere else. This is why he chose this apartment on this street in this neighborhood. David doesn't think, he just acts. His feet are moving before his brain catches up, and suddenly he is jogging across the street through puddles that splash up to his knees. His heart is pounding, but not from the running. It's pounding because for the first time in his life, everything feels right. "Excuse me," he calls out as he approaches Sarah. "Do you need an umbrella?" Sarah turns around, and time literally stops, not in a cheesy movie way, but in a very real scientific way, because what neither Sarah nor David realizes is that they have actually met before, not officially, not with names and conversations, but their paths have crossed in the most incredible ways. When Sarah was 8 years old, she was at Navy Pier with her family, watching the fireworks on the 4th of July. She dropped her favorite stuffed elephant into Lake Michigan and started crying. A little Asian boy with kind eyes picked up a stick and tried to fish it out for her. He never got the elephant, but he spent 20 minutes trying, while his parents waited patiently. That little boy was David. When David was 16, he was at Northwestern Hospital visiting his grandfather in the cardiac unit. A teenage girl with curly brown hair was in the elevator crying quietly. She had just found out her grandmother needed emergency surgery. David wanted to say something comforting, but the elevator opened, and she rushed out. He spent the next hour hoping she was okay. That teenage girl was Sarah, whose grandmother made a full recovery and lived another 8 beautiful years. When Sarah was 22, she was at O'Hare Airport, delayed for 6 hours due to a snowstorm. She was reading Pride and Prejudice for the 100th time when a young man sat down across from her at the gate, reading the exact same book. He looked up, caught her eye, and smiled. They both laughed at the coincidence, but before either could say anything, his flight was called, and he had to run. That young man was David, flying back to San Francisco after a job interview in Chicago, the interview that he didn't get, which led to him staying in San Francisco for 6 more years before finally making the move. Standing here in the rain, Sarah looks into David's eyes and feels something she has never felt before. It's not attraction, although David is handsome in a quiet, thoughtful way, with dark hair that curls slightly when wet, and glasses that make him look both intellectual and approachable. It's not gratitude, although she desperately needs that umbrella. It's recognition. Not the kind where you remember meeting someone before, but the deeper kind where your soul recognizes its match. It's the feeling of finally being home, after a lifetime of wandering. "Thank you," she says, taking one side of the umbrella handle. Their fingers brush for just a second, and both feel an electric shock that has nothing to do with static electricity. "I really appreciate this," she continues, as they start walking together in the direction of her interview. Sarah, by the way, David, he replies, and his voice sounds different than it ever has before, like he's been practicing his whole life to say his name to this exact person. They walk in comfortable silence for the first block, which is remarkable, because Sarah is usually chatty when she's nervous and David is typically quiet around strangers, but this doesn't feel like talking to a stranger. It feels like continuing a conversation they started years ago. So, what brings you out in this monsoon? Sarah asks, as they navigate around a particularly large puddle. Was just having coffee and saw you looking distressed, David answers truthfully. I felt like I should help. What he doesn't say is that he wasn't having coffee. He was standing outside the coffee shop for 30 minutes, watching people, and waiting for something he couldn't name. What he doesn't say is that the moment he saw her, his chest felt warm for the first time since his father died. What he doesn't say is that he has never approached a stranger in his life, and has no idea why today was different. You're an angel, Sarah says, and means it. I have the most important job interview of my life in 15 minutes, and I completely forgot to check the weather. I swear, I would lose my head if it wasn't attached. David laughs, and it's a sound Sarah wants to hear every day for the rest of her life. Rich and genuine, and completely unguarded. What kind of job? He asks, as they wait for another light. Marketing, she replies. Morrison Marketing. Actually, it's my dream job. I've been trying to get an interview there for 2 years. David stops walking so suddenly that Sarah bumps into him. Morrison Marketing. He repeats, his voice strange. Yes, do you know it? Sarah asks, worried that maybe the company has a bad reputation. She doesn't know about Ty designed their new headquarters. David says quietly, spent 8 months working on that project. It's why I moved to Chicago. Sarah stares at him, the rain pattering on the umbrella above their heads, creating their own private world. You designed a building where I'm about to interview. I designed the building where you're about to interview. They look at each other and start laughing. The kind of laughter that comes from recognizing how beautifully absurd life can be. The kind that makes other people on the street smile, even though they're getting soaked. This is crazy, Sarah says, wiping tears from her eyes. That might be rain, or might be from laughing so hard. It's something. David agrees, and his heart is beating so fast, he wonders if Sarah can hear it. They start walking again, but slower now, like neither wants this journey to end. As they get closer to the Morrison building, David finds himself telling Sarah things he has never told anyone. How he became an architect, because he loved the idea of creating spaces where people could build their lives. How he moved to Chicago on a whim, because San Francisco felt like a beautiful cage. How he carries his father's umbrella everywhere, because it's the only thing that makes him feel connected to something bigger than himself. Sarah finds herself sharing equally intimate details. How she got into marketing because she loves the psychology of what makes people connect with ideas. How she moved to Chicago from a small town in Wisconsin because she wanted to be somewhere she could become anyone. How she always forgets umbrellas because some part of her likes walking in the rain. It makes her feel alive and present. By the time they reach the Morrison building, they both realize something extraordinary has happened in 23 minutes of walking. They have shared more honest conversation than either has had in months. They have laughed more genuinely than either has in years. They have felt more connected than either thought possible with another human being. This is it, Sarah says, looking up at the gleaming glass and steel structure. David designed this. Is it? David agrees, looking at Sarah instead of his building. Sarah turns to hand back the umbrella, but David shakes his head. Keep it, he says. I have a feeling you might need it. Again, what he means is I have a feeling I want to see you again, but doesn't know how to say it without sounding presumptuous or crazy. Sarah holds the umbrella and realizes she doesn't want to go inside. She wants to keep walking with David. She wants to learn what his favorite color is and whether he likes movies or books better, and if he believes in fate. She wants to know everything about this stranger who feels less like a stranger and more like coming home. I should probably go, she says reluctantly. You should probably go, David agrees, but neither moves. Listen, Sarah says, taking a deep breath. This might sound crazy, but would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? I mean, I know we just met, and you probably think him forward or weird, but I have never felt. She stops talking, because David is smiling the biggest, brightest, most beautiful smile she has ever seen. I would love to get coffee, David says, and means it more than he has ever meant anything. I was just trying to figure out how to ask you the same thing. They exchange numbers standing under the umbrella outside the building David designed. Sarah types her information into his phone with shaking fingers that have nothing to do with being cold. David saves her contact under Sarah Umbrella Girl and shows her, which makes her laugh. I have to go, she says finally. I cannot be late for this interview. Good luck, David says, and spontaneously does something he has never done before. He leans down and kisses her cheek. It's a soft, quick kiss that feels like a promise. Sarah walks into the Morrison building carrying David's umbrella and feeling like she could conquer the world. The interview goes perfectly. Not just because she is qualified, but because she radiates confidence and joy. The kind that comes from knowing the universe is conspiring in your favor. David walks home in the rain, getting completely soaked and not caring at all. He keeps touching the spot on his cheek where Sarah's hair brushed against his skin when he kissed her goodbye. He pulls out his phone 17 times to text her, and puts it away 17 times because he doesn't want to seem desperate. What neither knows yet is that Sarah will get the job and start working in the building. David designed. What neither knows yet is that David will bring her coffee every morning for the next month, just because he likes seeing her face light up. What neither knows yet is that in 6 months David will propose to Sarah in the exact spot where they first met during a rainstorm. He secretly arranged with his friend, who works at the weather service ward. Neither knows yet is that their children will grow up hearing the story of how Mummy and Daddy met in the rain, and will learn to always carry umbrellas, not for themselves, but for strangers who might need them. What neither knows yet is that they will celebrate their anniversary every year by standing in the rain together, sharing an umbrella, and remembering the moment their real lives began. But what they both somehow know, as they go their separate ways, that Tuesday morning, is that everything has changed. They both know that the person they were when they woke up this morning is not the person they are now. They both know that something magical and inexplicable, and completely life-altering, has just occurred. Sarah sits in the waiting room at Morrison Marketing clutching David's umbrella, and realizes she has been waiting her entire life for this morning, not for the job interview, but for David, for someone who would run across the street in a downpour to help a stranger, for someone who would give up his father's umbrella to someone he just met, for someone who would kiss her cheek like it was the most natural thing in the world. David walks into his apartment dripping wet and laughing, and calls his best friend Mike in San Francisco. Mike, he says, when his friend picks up, I think I just met my wife. Mike, who has known David since college, and has never heard him talk about any woman this way, says, tell me everything. David tells him everything, from the strange feeling he woke up with to the way Sarah laughed, to the moment he knew with absolute certainty that his entire life had been leading up to standing in the rain on a Tuesday morning in October. Meanwhile, Sarah calls her sister, Emma, who lives in Milwaukee. Emma, she says, the moment her sister answers, I think I just met my son, who has listened to Sarah complain about every guy she has dated for the past 5 years, says this, I have to hear. Sarah tells her everything, from forgetting her umbrella again, to the way David smiled, to the feeling that she had been looking for him without knowing she was looking that night. Sarah lies in bed holding David's umbrella and staring at his contact information in her phone. She wants to text him, but doesn't know what to say. How do you text someone who changed your entire world in 23 minutes? How do you casually message someone who made you believe in destiny 3 blocks away? David lies in bed, staring at his phone, typing and deleting messages to Sarah. Hi, Sarah, it's David from this morning. I hope your interview went well. Would love to take you to coffee tomorrow, if you're free. Delete. Hey Sarah, thanks for letting me share my umbrella with you today. I can't stop thinking about our conversation. Delete. Sarah, I know this sounds crazy, but I think you might be the person my dad meant when he told me to find someone worth sharing my umbrella with. Delete. 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 Finally, at 11:47 p.m. David sends the simplest message of all. Hi Sarah, I hope you got the job. Sweet dreams. Sarah reads the message at 11:48 p.m. and feels her heart skip. She texts back immediately, Hi David, I got the job. Thank you for the umbrella and for being my good luck charm. Sweet dreams to you too. They both fall asleep, smiling, their phones on their nights next to each other, like even their devices know they belong together. The next morning, Sarah wakes up to a text from David sent at 6 a.m. Good morning. I know you start your new job today, and I wanted you to know that I believe in you. Also, there's a Starbucks on the 3rd floor of your building. If you need caffeine. Courage. Sarah texts back, thank you for believing in me. Would you maybe want to celebrate with me tonight? I know a great little Italian place. David responds within 30 seconds, I would love nothing more. What follows is the kind of love story that makes people believe in magic. Sarah and David discover that they have been living parallel lives for years, reading the same books, visiting the same places, dreaming the same dreams. They find out that Sarah's college roommate dated David's fraternity brother, that Sarah's favorite restaurant in Chicago is 3 blocks from David's apartment, that they both volunteer at the same animal shelter on different days. They realize that the universe has been trying to bring them together for decades, and they finally stopped long enough in their busy lives to notice each other. 6 months after that rainy Tuesday, Sarah and David are back at the same corner. Sarah is wearing a white Dressed David is wearing his father's watch, and both are carrying umbrellas, even though the sky is clear. David gets down on one knee in the exact spot where they first met, and pulls out a ring that belonged to his grandmother, Sarah Thompson. He says with tears in his eyes, "Will you marry me and share your umbrella with me for the rest of our lives?" Sarah says yes, before he finishes the question, and as they kiss, it starts to rain again, like the sky is crying tears of joy too. Years later, they have a daughter named Hope, who is born during a thunderstorm. 1 year after that, they have a son named Chance, who comes into the world on the sunniest day of the year. Sarah and David teach their children that kindness to strangers is never wasted, that love finds you when you least expect it, and that sometimes the most ordinary moments are actually the most extraordinary. They tell Hope and Chance about the Tuesday morning that changed everything, about how a forgotten umbrella led to a found soulmate, about how helping someone in the rain brought them a lifetime of sunshine. And every year on October 15th, no matter what the weather, Sarah and David stand at that corner with their children and remember that love stories don't always start with dramatic gestures or grand romantic gestures. Sometimes they start with someone simply saying, "Excuse me, do you need an umbrella?" If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because I share true love stories like this every week. Stories that remind us that magic is real, kindness matters, and love always finds a way. Comment below and tell me about a time a stranger changed your life, or share this video with someone who needs to believe in love again. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting in the rain for you, and you just might be carrying the umbrella they need.